Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today I am, as you can tell from behind me, I am not in Southwest Florida. I'm in the Midwest US, and what is all around me in this field are soybeans. So, I came out here today and this really took me back. I came out to and this is a research farm that is part of the old university that I used to work for. And I came out here a lot and did some work out here. I did mostly lab work, but I did have to come out to the field to get some tissue to bring into the laboratory. And I came out and visited some of these facilities, and I couldn't remember where to turn and where to go. And you can get lost in some of these places. So I talked to one of my old colleagues, and he had to point me in the right direction to find this field. Anyway, it's really fun to be back here. It's a beautiful day. I got a nice breeze, and what is behind me right here is this is all soybeans, and then on the field behind it, I don't know if you can see it, but the field behind it, it's corn, and then there's also corn that way. So this is what you see in the Midwest, is you see soybean and corn, and then you see corn and soybean, and it goes back and forth. This is even though you can't tell, this is a pretty small field because it's part of the university research plot. And when you get into the center part of the Midwest U.S., these fields are huge. This is a small field. Okay, why am I here, and what's the point of showing you these soybeans? Well, the soybeans, and what I want to talk about today is fall color change. I don't want to talk about soybeans much, but I want to talk about fall color changes. And what I want to share with you is pigments and pigment production during the fall. So the beautiful fall colors that, for someone like me, it's the yellow of the soybean field, but the other colors that are in the trees that I'll show you in just a little bit, I want to explain to you where those come from. So we're going to talk a little bit about pigments. I'm going to show you, pigment structure. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about remobilization and the reason for the fall color change, and we'll get into that. So we'll venture into the university associated arboretum, where I hope to find some really nice fall color changes in the variety of different trees that they have planted there. Okay, but I wanted to start here in the soybean field because this really this took me back to what I used to do in my former life. All right, so just wanted to do an introduction here, and I'm going to pack it up, and we'll take a look at what I hope will be a greater variety of color changes other than the yellow that you're just seeing in the soybean plants behind me. Okay, so let's pack it up and move to another location. Okay, so we're back, and I got a little distracted, so I'm not even in my final location to share with you the information that I wanted to talk with you about relative to pigment production for the autumn fall colors. Instead, I got distracted and I ended up here. So this is a crabapple test site in the arboretum of my old university. And the interesting thing is I have lots of memories of coming to this place. And it doesn't look like much now because the leaves are mostly gone. There are some flowers here. It's interesting. So this is fall, and this is a confused crabapple tree. So there's some blooms coming out on this. Occasionally you see this. Most of them aren't like this, but I parked here because I wanted to be under the confused tree because I'm a little confused as well. So I wanted to just kind of talk with you about fall colors with nice fall colors behind me, but then I thought, well, maybe, and let me know in the comments if you want a tour of the Arboretum. I mean, the colors are nice. Some of the plantings are really unusual here. And I'm happy to share that with you, so let me know. In the meantime, this is a crabapple test site, and what the university does is they test really a wide variety of different crab apples and provide just kind of outcomes on how the crab apples grow, so that individuals that may want to purchase them for their homes have a little bit of an idea of how these trees grow. You know, how big the apples get, what colors they are, the general growth habit of the tree, and things like that. And you may be able to tell, so there's a row here and there's a row here, but this is gridded out, as you might imagine, to give these guys plenty of room to grow. So there's a little bit of a stop here, and then I'm going to go to what I think is just a really nice location, and where I want to talk with you in a little bit more detail about fall colors and why, physiologically, why these trees give you nice fall colors. Okay, so sorry, a little bit of a sidetrack here, and we'll get back to the main topic in just a second. And we're back. So this is one of the main areas of the Arboretum that I used to come a lot with my young family. And I want to highlight a few things, and I'm going to step out of the way so that I can show you things and the camera can focus on the things behind me instead of on me. So I'm going to get out of the way, and if you look at the left, there is a visitor house. And that is one of the original properties on campus here that was, and again, the campus and the land here was donated to the university many years ago, and that was an original residence. And that is used for conferences and for overnight guests. Right in front of that is the Rose Garden, and if you're interested, we can take a close look at that later, but the Rose Garden has a bunch of different plants in there, as you might imagine. This is probably not the best time of the year to see the roses, but they're still blooming. Roses will bloom well into the autumn. And then closer to us, in front of that, where you see all those young plants, that used to be a grass field where my kids and I used to come, usually Fridays after work. My wife would bring my kids here, and we would play soccer in that area. And they planted, as you can tell, a lot of new trees and shrubs there. This is an arboretum, so there's a need, I guess, to fill in the space. And then in front of that, even closer to me, are some additional plantings. There's some on the right. There's some sugar maples that are starting to turn colors. When you look way off in the background, you can see in the center of the screen, or a little left of that, you can see some of the other trees that are starting to turn colors. And with that, I'm going to get back into things a little bit, and that is the subject of what I wanted to share with you today, if you're still with me, and that is fall color change and what is associated with that. Before we get into that, you do have to understand some of the pigments that are in plants, and then we'll kind of dissect what's happening with those pigments during the autumn and during the color change. So the main pigment that you're aware of that is certainly all around me right now and all around us is chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the main photosynthetic pigment that's in plants. It is a very large molecule, and in the center of the chlorophyll molecule is a magnesium ion, and the magnesium then is surrounded by nitrogens that hold the magnesium in place. So magnesium and nitrogen are the unusual components of a chlorophyll molecule, but it's a big molecule, and then once you get around and outside of that chlorophyll ring, the large molecule, you have a tail, a large carbon tail, and that's called the phytol tail. Whenever you have a series of carbons that are in a string like that, those have different functionalities and they have different solubilities. So that tail is what anchors the chlorophyll molecule in the membrane. So chlorophyll is lipid soluble. So it dissolves in lipids and oils and things like that. And for that reason, that part of the molecule and the molecule itself is anchored in the membrane of the chloroplast. And the chloroplast is a very membranous organelle that are in all plants. And there are many of them in young plants, and that is the center of the photosynthetic machinery and the light collection machinery of the plant cell. All right, so again, chlorophyll, a big molecule, magnesium, nitrogen's around, and then a phytol tail, a tail that anchors it into the membrane that's associated with light harvesting complex that plants use most of the year. All right, one of the other pigments that I want to talk about is carotene, which is a type of carotenoid. And as you, and OID, oid means like, so carotenoid, or the molecules that are similar to carotene. Carotene, as you might imagine, from both the color and the name, is named after carrot. And those pigments tend to be yellow and orange and things like that. Carotene and many of the carotenoids are also associated with chlorophyll, and they're associated with the chloroplasts. They're large molecules, large carbon molecules that are, again, also membrane bound. They're embedded in the membrane. Now, in the chloroplast, what happens is the carotene is part of a light harvesting complex. So it actually is associated in some way with the chlorophyll, and then it absorbs light, and it actually protects the chlorophyll and the chloroplast from too much light. It collects light, a little bit of different wavelengths of light, and then it funnels that energy from light harvesting to chlorophyll. All right, so what is all this stuff doing? Well, the chlorophyll and the carotene, or carotenoids, then they harvest the light, they make the energy, they transport the energy, they make other molecules that are then used for the production of sugar from carbon dioxide. Okay, so just real simple lesson in how chlorophyll and carotenoids work and how they work together. So that is really one class, or two different classes of pigments that are both lipid-soluble types of pigments. All right. There are the other main class, and there are a few other pigments. Most of the pigments in plants are associated with light perception and light harvest or something like that in various ways. So there's so many different types of pigments in plants, and I want to get into another class of pigments, and those are called anthocyanins. So anthocyanins are the pigments that are associated, in many cases you notice them as associated with flower colors. So those pigments tend to be red and blues and pinks and purples and things like this. So it's not in all flowers, but in most flowers, those are the pigments that provide flower color. They also provide, their attraction for insects and for pollination, but they also provide some level of protection against certain types of stresses. There's phytoprotection, so protection from the light, that is also associated with that. And you see a lot of cases when the plants are stressed a little bit, they will produce these red and purple pigments in those plants. All right, so how does this all related to color change in the fall? Well, before I do that, I did go through the Arboretum, and I collected some leaves that I wanted to share with you, and those leaves are here, and you can see, I'm not sure where the best place to show that is. There's some of them are red, as these leaves are here. Some of them are yellow, this one here. Some of them are a combination, so this looks like there's oranges, maple, of course. So this has oranges, a little bit of reds maybe, and some yellows. Not much green left here. And as we move on, here's really a dark purple leaf, another yellow, more maples shown right here with, again, the yellow coloration. Here's some red with a little bit of purple in the middle. So I don't want to go through all these, but there's a lot of different colors that are associated with these leaves. All right, so what is happening during the autumn. Why are these things changing colors, and why did they change the color in these specific ways? All right, so the main thing that's happening, the main thing that you're seeing is a loss of green. So that is, chlorophyll is being broken down. All right, why is chlorophyll being broken down? Well, as I explained to you earlier, chlorophyll has magnesium and nitrogens around that, and those compounds are really valuable, and they're needed for subsequent years' growth. So it's believed that the chlorophyll, and this is part of a programmed process, a programmed senescence, or death of these cells in these plant structures. So what happens is the chlorophyll, it's believed that breaks down. The important components of the chlorophyll molecule are then relocated and reestablished in other parts of the plant and saved for subsequent years of growth. All right, so you have the remobilization for later reuse of these structures, of these compounds and these elements. So why isn't that happening? What's going on with some of the other compounds? Why do these things stay yellow? The yellow, as I said, is because of the carotenoids that are present in these leaves. And the carotenoids aren't broken down, and they aren't recycled, or certainly not to the level that chlorophyll is, because the carotenoids only contain these large carbon chains. So their carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are in these chains, and that, again, those are the major components of chlorophyll also, but it's the magnesium and the nitrogen that is remobilized for use. All right, so the carotenoids are really, they're tossed away, and it's because the plants are really good at making these structures. They do cost to make it, but the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen come from the atmosphere. They come from CO2. They come from water, and those are compounds, and those are molecules that are much easier to get. The main structure of the leaf, all these, the cellulose and cell walls, those are also mostly carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So the plants are really good at remaking those, and so I guess it isn't as much of an energy drain to discard the carotenoids while they have to break down and reorganize the chlorophyll. Okay, how about this other stuff? How about what's going on? Why are the anthocyanins, why are they still there, or do they increase in the fall? And the reality of this is the research shows that the anthocyanins actually, so these are the reds and the purples, those actually are increased. The genes for those are actually increased in the fall. So those are actually pushed and accumulated in leaves in the fall. All right, what is the purpose of that? And you think, oh, is it because in some cases the people that are involved in breeding will actually breed to introduce the really nice coloration into the plants, but in the wild, in nature, why does this happen? There's no breeding involved there. So the anthocyanins are involved in protection in some ways, stress protection in some ways, and it's believed that those are associated with photoprotection and protection from certain types of predation. And so those are actually increased. The components, if you look at it again, of those anthocyanins, it's mostly carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And I should mention those different colors are produced from both the carotenoids and the anthocyanins. Those different colors are produced based on the number of double bonds that are formed, but also by where the OH groups are placed, and in some cases where sugars and where some additional groups are placed on the molecule. So that can have an impact on the colors of both carotenoids and the anthocyanins. So the other thing is, and I did want to mention one other carotenoid that is red that's a little unusual. So most of the carotenoids, like I said, are yellow to orange, there are red carotenoids, and the main one that we may be aware of, that you may be aware of, is lycopene. And lycopene is a carotenoid. It's a little unusual because it's found in tomato fruit, and it's associated, as you might know, it's associated with, there's a lot of health benefits that are associated with this specific carotenoids. So there are some benefits of consuming plants that have these certain carotenoids and actually certain anthocyanins in there as well. All right, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show. Oh, I did want to show you one other thing, which is just kind of interesting. So when you take, and I'm not even sure what kind of tree this is from, but when you take a look at this leaf here, you can see that the chlorophyll is being degraded, or has been degraded, in the interveinal region of this leaf. So that is in the area between the veins, and in the veins they're still green. So that kind of is an indicator that the chlorophyll is being broken down, and the components of that chlorophyll then are shuttled into the veins and then back into the plant. All right, so, and I did want to explain to you one other thing. So I've explained to you as best as I can why the plants change colors in the fall. Not all of them do. I did mention oaks. Oaks just turn, leaves on oaks just turn brown and fall off. But it's interesting that even though this has been studied for years, the actual nature or the benefit of anthocyanin production, the real brilliant reds and purples that you see, that hasn't been as well defined as you'd like to see. I took a look at some review articles, and there were a couple of theories, there were a few theories of why this happens. You know, I said the animal predation and the phytoprotection, but it's not 100% sure. So the color changes may or may not be associated with these things, but this is the best explanation that I can give to you based on what I've seen in the scientific literature. Okay, so I hope you stayed with me. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed my video on a explanation of what happens and what causes the fall color changes here in certain parts of the country and in the world. If you enjoyed my video and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.